everybody. It's your boy Grape Juice back with another word from the vine. Listen, I want to bring to you a different kind of discussion today. This time, as you can tell probably by the thumbnail and the title, we're talking about truth. We got to talk about truth and dive into it. Is it objective? Is it subjective? Can we reach truth? Can truth be known? Is it attainable? What does truth mean for me and you? Because I know that you know, right? You in the same world I'm in, where there's a lot of conversation in regards to truth. Everybody has their own truth. Everybody's living some kind of truth. Everybody's in respect of other people's truths. I'm sure you've heard something along the lines of, oh, that's your truth. That's your truth. And that's fine. But this is my truth, right? This is my truth. This is what I want to do. And listen, there's no bashing to anybody like that. Even if you are of that mindset, listen, I'm just here to have a little bit of conversation. I want you to kind of step out of your own bubble and just kind of zoom out and really get a taste of a perspective of truth, maybe one that you may not have thought of before. And so this video is just going to be dedicated to looking at the definition of truth, right? What is truth? And we have our own definitions of truth nowadays, and you may have not thought about, oh, there's an actual definition of truth. Indeed, there is. So let's read it, right? So what is truth, right? So the definition of it is an indisputable fact. Okay, truth is an indisputable fact. Actuality or actual existence, conformity with fact or reality. Okay, indisputable means that it just simply can't be denied, right? You know the phrase, you want the truth? Yeah, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth, right? Because sometimes handling that raw truth about a situation can be very heavy, can be very, very intimidating, can mess you up in more ways than one. But regardless, it's something that can't be denied, right? Our feelings might tell us to go one way, right? We may want it to be something else, but in the end, truth is truth. It's not denied, can't be denied, and it's sitting right in front of our face, bringing the smoke to the door. What are we going to do, right? In other words, it's just simply saying that it's telling it like it is, right? Keeping it like it is, or that which corresponds to its object, or that which describes an actual state of affairs. Okay, so we're actually describing something that can be seen, that is evident, that can be clear, or just something that we can draw a reasonable conclusion to, right? There's a few things that I want to bring into the topic of truth that I think will help us better understand, because obviously our next questions kind of would be like, well, I mean, yeah, I hear you, but like, can it be attained? How can we find it if it's so attainable, right? And there's three things that I like to go off of when it comes to discovering truth. All right. We're looking at logic, we're looking at science, and we're looking at reality. OK, those three things are super duper important when it comes to looking at truth, because it needs to make sense. Right. Science, it needs to have some evidence behind it. It needs to have some knowledge and evidence behind it. But then also it needs to match with reality. Right. If I were to tell you to step outside and tell you that if I were to tell you to look outside, rather, and say it's sun shining and it's clear and it's cloudy and it's a good day, it's just sun everywhere, but you look outside and it's raining, you're gonna look at me like I'm 17 kinds of fool and a liar, right? So it has to match with what we see, evidence that is brought to the table that we can actually make sense out of. Okay, reality, science, and logic. All right, reasoning. Okay, and it's interesting because when it comes to truth, a lot of us may argue, well, that sounds good and all, but I can't really tell what truth is because I don't have everything presented in front of me, right? Or we weren't here since the beginning of time. So we can't necessarily say that anybody knows truth because none of us were here. And I hear you on that point, but I want to bring another point to you that I think might push back on it just a little bit. Because when you're in a court session, now I know that this might be a rough example, but walk with me on this, because if the court of justice is moved on the correct and fair notion, on a truthful notion, this is majority of how it should go, right? We have the defendant, we have the prosecutor, we have the jury, and we have the judge, right? We have somebody who's on trial for a crime that's been committed, and they don't ask to prove beyond all doubt, but they ask to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So there's a reasonable doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt, that this person did this crime, that this person did not do this crime. And then for the rest of the trial, right, we have eyewitness, we have testimonies, we have evidence, forensic evidence that is brought to the table to come to a good impartial, fair conclusion, as it should be. Now, this isn't always how it ends. We all know this, right? We can't sugarcoat it. It's not always like this, but how it should be is that there is an impartial conclusion that's came to by the jury to decide with the evidence that's been presented. Okay. Is this the truth? Is this really what took place and what the final verdict will be? That is exactly what truth is. We are looking for all the evidence that can, but not even all the evidence. We're looking for reasonable amount, right? We're looking for just enough, a reasonable amount that can prove that what is being stated, what is being said, what is being lived out, what is being shared is indeed truth. Okay, so we talked about the definition. We talked about 3 ways we can find truth, dive into truth, dig into truth. And so now I kind of want to dive a little bit to end this about truth claims. Okay, because believe it or not, me and you make truth claims all the time, right? We make truth claims every day. In fact, I just made a truth claim saying that we make truth claims every day, right? When we talk about I'm hot, I'm cold, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I go to school, I'm in school, all of these, and they might be really insignificant, but that's a truth claim nonetheless, because a truth claim is proclaiming something to be true. We are claiming this to be what we are saying it is. Okay, so let me give you a couple characteristics of this, of truth claims that we make, right? All truth claims, any truth claim that we make, okay, that actually is true, right, must be absolute, okay, must be narrow and exclusive. Why do we say it must be? Because truth is absolute, narrow, and exclusive. Okay, so let me give some examples, right? When we talk about absolute, right, we're talking about it can't be doubted. Okay, like 100%. Like I am 100% sure that this is what it is. No doubt in my mind, not just in my mind, but there's no doubt factually that this is what it is. Okay, so if you're somebody who's on the fence about truth, I don't know if truth really exists. Here's what I want to ask you. Are you absolutely sure that there is no such thing as truth? Are you absolutely sure that there is no absolute truth? And most of you, maybe all of you, may go, well, no, I'm not absolutely sure. And that's good. That's okay. Right. This isn't to shame you about it, but this is how we need to understand. Right. If you're not absolutely sure of something, then there must be something that we can grab an evidence of. Right, that there's evidence shown of maybe something we're unsure about. And get this, because we don't know it doesn't mean it's not true. Right, there's a lot of things that we don't know. It doesn't mean that it's false and it's not true. OK, so there's an absolute factor to truth. Right, it's 100%, no questions asked, no doubt that this is what it is. OK, then we have narrow and exclusive. Right, we have narrow and exclusive that just simply excludes what is opposite of truth. So when we talk about truth, what are we talking about? We're talking about false, right? Opposite of truth is false. Every quiz you take that is true and false based, if you go through that quiz and you answer every question true and false, you are going to be in trouble. You are going to fail that quiz. And God forbid that quiz is what you needed to pass that class. Good luck, Charlie, right? Because we need to understand that not everything, not every truth claim, right? Everything that is said to be true doesn't make room for something else that's false. OK, you and I cannot be right at the same time when we make a statement that has a right and a wrong, a truth and a false. Right. If you say 2 + 2 is 4 and I say 2 + 2 is 6, well, somebody's wrong. Right. If you say you're married and I say you're not married, somebody's wrong. Right. And we have evidence. We have reason, we have knowledge to be able, in reality, to be able to come to the conclusion of what is true regarding the situation or statement that we've made. OK, there's going to be some evidence, a ring on the finger, a document, something along those lines. Right. For mathematic. Right. We're going to, add up, multiply, subtract, go through all kinds of mathematic books, evidence to prove that a statement is true. OK, so this negates this idea of this your truth versus my truth, right? Which we'll get into another later, because essentially we're saying, OK, truth is subjective. And so the real question becomes, well, is truth objective or subjective? Right. But we talked about absolute. We talked about narrow. So then again, let's look at exclusive. OK, if I can give you an example of what an exclusive truth is. OK, saying everything is true excludes the idea that everything is not true. So essentially what we're saying is if you make the statement that everything is true, you are saying that the statement everything is not true is wrong. So again, we have this idea tracing back to the narrow of a true versus false. For every truth, there is a false, which also means what? That not everybody can be right. So when we're talking about an exclusion or an exclusive truth, everybody can't be welcomed into the party when we're talking about truth. And I'm not saying that truth is only available to some people. Okay, that's not the picture I'm drawing here. What I'm saying is that not everybody and everything can be right or can be true. So there's something that we can get to where we can describe as an absolute truth. Okay, when we talk about truth, it's transcendental, right? It's transcending, right? So what we mean by that is that this is the truth for everywhere, for all people, all directions. Okay, 2 + 2 = 4 is true in all languages, in all countries. Okay, that's what it is. That it's truth, right? It's true for everybody. So if we're trying to get to the idea of what is true, and we're saying, but that's true for you, not true for me. Well, what we're really doing is neglecting this idea of a full truth, an absolute truth, right? Which doesn't destroy the absolute truth on its own. It just destroys what we want, right? We don't want it to be absolutely true. That doesn't mean it's not absolutely true. We don't want that fact to be true, but that doesn't mean that it isn't true. So there's this understanding of, okay, if we're looking at truth on the concrete level, okay, if truth is concrete, truth is set in stone, it doesn't matter how I look at it. It doesn't matter where I look at it from, right? And it also doesn't mean, and it also doesn't depend on my attitude towards it. It doesn't depend on my feelings toward it, okay? No matter how I feel, no matter how I look at it, no matter how I view it, this is truth, okay? So when we talk about truth, right, we have the definition. It's an indisputable fact. Okay. We have this idea of truth claims that characterize an absolute, narrow, and exclusive. Okay. And so then we continue on by looking at essentially truth is saying that we're telling it like it is. It's unchanging. It's transcultural, transcending. Okay. All of these understandings that we gathered from this video alone when we're discussing truth. So look forward to the next one, because now we're going to dive into a question like we mentioned earlier. Is truth objective or subjective? So keep these things in mind, because as we go into that discussion, hopefully some wheels are turning and some things are trying to click when we're trying to make some sense out of understanding, well, can truth be reached? Is truth attainable? And is there one solid truth, or are there just many truths? And so thanks for tuning in. Take these grapes with you. And as always, until then, peace.